There is a question that I get so often on my channel that I decided to make this video to address it. And no, it's not, why don't you demo any clean tones, although we can address that right now, I suppose, because I'm a metalhead. You clicked on a channel for other metalheads. Sorry? Anyway, the question I get a lot usually goes something like this. Taylor, really love your channel, been watching for a while now. I was wondering what you would buy if you didn't have that much money that would be loud enough for practicing and keeping up with a drummer. Well, fictitious internet dude, I'm glad you asked because today I'm going to put together what I would pick for a budget rig that's right around $500. What's up everybody, welcome to the channel, glad to see you here. In this day and age, guitar players have a lot of really incredible options for being loud and sounding good. Now there are a lot of options out there that I'm sure I could pick that would fit our budget, but if it were me and I was spending my own money on something I'd actually want to play through, I would grab one of these. No, wait, don't go, hear me out. I know this amp looks like a novelty and well, it is, but it's a really good sounding and loud novelty. It's essentially a pedal and a solid state power amp in a fancy shell, and while you can break down the internal components, one of the most important things to me about this is it looks cool. Sure, there are other small amps, even with preamp tubes like the 𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗞𝗦 series, and while these are very good as well, this is just infinitely more inspiring to me and makes me want to plug into it and play. I think that's a pretty big factor when I'm picking out gear, and that's probably a topic for another video, but this mini amp won't do you any good without a cabinet, and for that purpose, I chose the Harley Benton Vintage 30 vertical cab. This cab is really hard to beat for the money. It comes with vintage 30s, is made out of plywood, and is pretty decently built. Although I'm not a huge fan of the construction and the speakers being front mounted, it's hard to argue that it's not a great value. So with the mini amp and the Harley Benton cab, at full retail, you are looking at around $560 after VAT and shipping on the Harley Benton cab. However, there's a pretty decent used market for these small mini heads. This brings us to right around $500, and I've got to be honest, for just an amp tone that's loud, it's pretty killer. So what I wanted to do in this video is show you the different amps in a demo with third-party impulse responses to show you their capabilities for studio use. Then I'll go through each with the Harley Benton cab just to show you so you can hear the differences between them. And then lastly, I'll play my favorite mini amp, which I will get to which one that is later in this video, through my 𝗦𝗣𝗘𝗏 4x12 just to give you an idea of the cost to performance ratio of these Harley Benton cabs with the mini amps. Okay, I am editing this video and I just wanted to interject something here. I had the opportunity to take one of these mini amps out to my band's practice space the other day and try it out with a real drummer. So if you're curious how it holds up in a band practice with a real drummer, stick around until the end of the video. I will also add chapters down there in the bottom. All right, let's hook these guys up. What's up guys, I am plugged in to the Diezel mini amp here. Now there are a couple different pedals that I'm throwing into the mix here that I didn't include in the budget. The main one is this 10-band EQ from Colleen, however you say it. I will include a link for this in the description below. This is a $40 10-band EQ pedal, and you'll see why I included it in a minute here. The other one I included is just an Ibanez tube screamer, a TS9 tube screamer to be specific. I'm just putting that in front of the amp because I know if I don't boost this amplifier at the end of the video, I'm gonna get a bunch of comments from people saying, hey, why didn't you boost the amplifier? It's just there for all of you boost nerds that like to boost every amplifier, like me. I'm a boost nerd. No shade. And of course, all of this is going into this Harley Benton vertical cabinet with vintage 30s. Let's turn it on and see how it sounds. Is everything at noon? Okay, pretty boring if I'm being honest with you, and not very loud either. That's not gonna be a problem here in a minute, but you know, it's worth pointing out. You can see we're up over 100 decibels now. Not the loudest thing in the world, but definitely not the quietest thing in the world. Let's see how loud we can get just the amp without the help of any pedals or anything like that. Okay, what are we peaking at? Around 106 decibels there? That might keep up with the drummer. And just in my experience using these amps so far, the Diezel is definitely the quietest of the bunch. Even though we have the deep knob on this amplifier and I have that turned all the way up and I have the bass turned up pretty high, we're not getting like a ton of low end from this amplifier. So let's turn on this 10-band EQ. I have this running through the effects loop, and I kind of like to think about this pedal as the God mode pedal. Let me show you why. Let's just turn it on. Sounds much better in my opinion. We're pretty loud. Pushing about 103 decibels with the volume just a little past noon. Let's actually turn this volume down, and I'm gonna turn the gain on the pedal all the way up, and then we'll see how much of a difference that is in terms of volume. So you can see the loudest we can get this amp is about 111 decibels, and it's loud enough to vibrate this pedal and make it move around. So to give you an idea how much low end that is, it's a lot of low end, especially for, you know, a little 2x12 cabinet and this little tiny cute little amp. We're definitely hitting the ceiling on the headroom of this amplifier though, so we'll turn the gain down here to about 6 decibels, and that way we can use the master volume on the amp a little bit more. But just to give you an idea, that's about as loud as we can get this amplifier using the God mode pedal. Okay, let's hear this amp boosted. I'm gonna turn down the gain a little bit here. This guy on. Let's move on here to the Friedman BE mini amplifier. Okay, so here's the Friedman Mini BE amplifier. Everything's at noon. God mode pedal is off for the time being. Boost is off. This is just the amplifier. A little bit underwhelming as is. Let's dial it in. I think I like it right about there. Let's actually turn the volume up here a little bit. And you can see just the amp on its own is a little bit louder than the Diezel amplifier, but let's use the God mode pedal here and see if we could dial it in a little bit more. If the God mode pedal will stand up, right? There we go. Definitely a big improvement with the 10-band EQ pedal though. Let's boost it. I didn't change anything, I just turned the boost on. Ooh, definitely need that low end back now. God damn, I need to practice my sweep picking. Anyways, I think it sounds really good. I really like it with the boost. I think the boost just gives this amp a little something that it kind of needs. But the 10-band EQ, dude, for $40, again, link in the description, just really brings these things to life in a way that, like, I hope is translating over video, because it's just such a massive difference sitting here in the room with this amplifier. Okay, next let's plug in the Soldano SLO Mini. All right, we have everything mostly at noon. We're in normal mode. We have it on crunch, not on overdrive here. No boost, no 10-band EQ. Let's turn it on and just hear the amplifier itself. Need to make sure I'm recording. On its own, I think this amp sounds the best right out of the box. Dial it in though. I think we're getting a lot of volume out of this one. This one sounds louder than the other two, to me, subjectively, in the room with the cabinet, but let's not rely on my ears, let's rely on the dB meter. We're not losing any of the tone characteristics by turning it up. Usually with these solid state amplifiers, once you max out the volume, they start sounding terrible because you start hitting the ceiling on the headroom of the power amp and it just breaks up in a really gross way. But we're not having that problem here with the Soldano at all. But we still haven't turned on the God mode pedal yet. Let's do that. Holy shit, what a big difference. Let's turn this guy down a little bit. It's very loud. Very, very loud. I don't know what that meter was reading. I wasn't paying attention to it, but it's quite loud. For all of you boost nerds, like me, we're gonna explain that. No shade. Let's actually go to the crunch mode. I want to hear the crunch mode boosted. I think this might actually be a little bit better, and we can turn the gain up here a little bit. I think I actually prefer the crunch channel boosted rather than the overdrive channel boosted, or just the overdrive channel on its own. The saturation just sounds like a little bit tighter to me. Like, it doesn't sound as loose and fuzzy. All right, we have one more of these mini amplifiers. It is absolutely my favorite out of all of them. It is the Bogner Ecstasy Mini. Let's hook that guy up. Try to get it as close to noon as possible. We have all the switches disengaged. It's just what the amp sounds like on its own. Sounds kind of terrible if I'm being real with you. I mean, I actually had to check my tone knob to make sure my tone knob wasn't rolled all the way back. It's not. That's just what this amplifier sounds like at noon. But let's start dialing things in and seeing if we can get this to sound better. Holy shit, what a big difference. Just by changing the gain staging switch here, we really turned this thing into a high gain beast. Let's turn on the God mode pedal and see what that does to this amplifier. It's fucking loud. Let's put the boost mode at neutral and hear what it sounds like with an external boost. God, we almost have a little bit too much gain. Did I just say that? All right, let's turn that down a little bit. Guarantee you show up to band practice with one of these things, your band is gonna look at you like you're ridiculous, but I think they might be a little bit surprised by how loud it is and by your tone. What the fuck? All right, and the last thing we are going to do here today with these amplifiers, I plugged it into my 𝗦𝗇𝗧 4x12 cabinet, just basically so I could give you a better representation of what these amps actually sound like, since this is the cabinet I play through most on the channel, so that way you guys can really hear what these things are capable of, you know, without being confined to a budget cabinet. Here's everything with the same settings. Let's actually turn the pre-EQ on boost 2 on the amp. And then again, let's turn on the God mode pedal. Hear what that sounds like. Now, I don't want to disparage anyone or insult anyone's intelligence. Obviously, this 𝗦𝗇𝗧 4x12 cabinet is going to sound better than the Harley-Benton 2x12 cabinet, but it's just some perspective here on what the budget cabinet will sound like compared to a 𝗦𝗧 oversized cabinet of much higher value.
So what you guys are seeing is my band practicing, and I'm using my normal rig in here just for reference. This is an Axe FX3 and a 𝗦𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗦 Stage 700. It is plenty loud to keep up with my band, and keep in mind that my band plays pretty loud. The drummer uses triggers, and that is going through the massive PA that you can see in this video, so it is very, very loud, and we're peaking out at about 118, 119 decibels there. But this one is just for reference so that you can see what the band practice normally sounds like, and even though the guitar might sound a little bit buried here, I am having no problem hearing it at all in the band practice space, so keep that in mind when we cut over to the clip with the Bogner Mini head. And now we have the clip of me using the Bogner Mini head instead of my Axe FX and the 𝗦𝗔𝗡𝗞𝗦 Stage 700. And the volume was right around 2 o'clock, so I wasn't even pushing it to its max, but I was using the EQ pedal in the loop trick that I showed off earlier in this video, and that definitely does give you a little bit more volume. But everyone in the band was really surprised that this thing could keep up and, you know, how good it sounded at those volumes. Now, it did sort of get drowned out in the top and the low end. It was very, very mid-heavy at those volumes in the mix. And despite not having as much low end or high end clarity, I think that this was actually a little bit louder than the Axe FX in the room.
what do you guys think of the Mini amps? I think it's really hard to beat their value for how good they sound and just how fun they are. I mean, they look like their big brother flagship amps, and I personally think that's really cool. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.